tonight Jean Julian and Nancy Rivetto, and I'm going to ask Doug Bassett to sit in as an alternate for Jack Marco, please. We're going to start this evening with the public hearing. I'll ask Nancy to read the call and then make a few comments before our applicant speaks.
Town of Stafford legal notice. Notice is hereby given that the Stafford Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on February 10th, 2015 at 7 p.m. in the Veterans Meeting Room, Warren Memorial Town Hall, 1 Main Street, Stafford, Connecticut, 06076, to consider the following. Earth removal, blasting renewal application submitted by applicant Wayne C. Williams, Skyline Quarry, location 110 Conklin Road, map number 61, lot number 80, zone AA and AAA. At this hearing, interested persons may be heard and written communication received. Copies of application, legal notice, and related information are on file in the zoning office, Town of Stafford, Connecticut. Cynthia Rummel, chairperson. This appeared in the Journal Enquirer on February 4th, 2015, and February 7th, 2015.
Thank you. The way we will conduct the public hearing is we will ask the applicant to make a presentation. The members of the commission and any alternates will then have the first opportunity to ask questions or provide any comments, as well as Dave Palmer, our CEO. We will then open the public hearing to the public for public comment. Once we close the public hearing, we cannot allow any public comment after that, so please be sure, if you do wish to be heard tonight, to take the opportunity when it arises tonight. We have, yeah, yes.
Okay. Hi, Wayne Williams here to before the board for our public hearing for our permit for Skyline Quarry.
The applicant's here to renew the permit. Was last renewed in 2012, January 2012. And in the file, it's not included in your packet, but there is a boundary survey that's in the ongoing file for the quarry. And what was recently submitted, which are basically updated profile of the quarry, which shows the previous elevations and the areas that have been excavated down to the current elevations that are out there now. Yeah, okay, we sent reduced copies to it. These are what, because of the extent of grade change out there from the highest point to the lowest point, it appears this has been the method used by Tarble Hines. Seems to show it more clearer than the contour map may. The baseline is shown on this overall map. Right, but the line that profile runs along is through this line here. So that's the cross section of the profile that you have in front of you. So starting here. Conklin Road down. Out here.
Over there, when you go off.
Where is that contour line now? I mean,
Well, the baseline is right here, basically from the top of the hill down through the operations
okay.
to the bottom.
Okay.
Basically where we stood on the site visit. Visited the site on January 22nd. Doug and Jean and myself.
Actually, Jean and
Roger, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
And we were out there before the snow came. It was bitterly cold, but before the snow came, if you'd like to pass some pictures through.
That's beautiful.
It is an amazing site, it truly is.
It was amazing. I visited, oh my goodness, how many years ago? With Richard Shook, I believe it was. Yeah.
It really looks beautiful right now, but it's Not too conducive for work.
Not for work, but for tricky, I'm sure. A lot of sliding.
Right, that would be Bradway Pond.
Could maybe make it
Yes.
mosquitoes.
So that development is what, swings around it?
Yes, yeah. You could score points for scenic.
Yeah.
You should go up.
Well, we
see
did,
it.
we did tour the site, we went up,
Yeah.
we met at the office, we went up, and Wayne went over the operations. They were doing, excavation that day down in the bottom. You know, it is that time of year where it's probably not as hectic as it could be in say, July or something, but, you know, everything seemed to be in good order, good housekeeping. Equipment wise and everything else, you know, didn't see any issues that raised any red flags. And we did, Wayne did point out on the way out, on the access road off of Conklin going up, is there are drainage leak-offs excavated on the site. I want every 200-300 feet, I wanna say.
Yeah, or,
Yeah.
yeah,
Swales,
100,
huh?
So, yeah, to let the water off, so you're not getting a sluice way down that driveway. No debris visible, you know, everything appears to be maintained in good order.
You have received no complaints in the office?
Received no complaints. I do have an email from the fire marshal, just basically stating the same, there's been no complaints. My office hasn't received any complaints. The acting chair of wetlands, John Wilson signed off on the permit as well, and the town engineer, has expressed support of the application. It's relatively straightforward, there've been no issues, no problems. And it's just required to renew every 3 years, so.
Dave had also mentioned to me at the beginning of the meeting that the applicant had sent out the green cards, and then because our meeting was canceled because of the snowstorm, he then resent,
Right, we did a certificate of
Yeah,
mailing.
letters.
right,
And rather than the green cards, it's permitted now, some towns have switched over to it completely, but, you know, the green cards are $6.50 each to mail out. And this qualifies as the same thing, it's accepted by the postmaster and stamped, and listing that these are the envelopes that were sent out with the material, with the notice. So, let them do that for the second meeting to at least save a
What's
few-
that called?
It's a certificate of mailing.
Okay, great,
So
great.
they were
So-
mailed out, so you
Yeah.
did.
To a butters, yes.
Not required.
Post office, so
Exactly.
do it.
Right. The post office, if they don't, but, yeah, okay. When was the expiration date?
Well, it
For
was
this one.
January 24th,
Yeah.
and our meeting got canceled.
Right, so what date would be appropriate should we approve this next 3-year permit? January 24th
If you were to
today's.
approve it tonight, I would just go with tonight to keep it
Tonight's?
clean, yeah.
Okay.
I don't have any questions, Madam Chairman.
that's you also. Doug, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right, we'll open it up to the public.
Is this an official letter though?
No,
No,
that's
it's
my
just-
memo
that's
to
his-
you.
Okay,
Someday.
I just changed my name.
Yes,
Took my name
yes,
off.
the name needs to be changed to Roger Pelzar.
I would love to,
Sorry,
but
Doug.
that wasn't the name.
You were there in spirit.
Yes, I was.
All right, anyone in the audience have any comments, questions for the applicant? Going once? All right, having heard no participation from the audience, then we will close the public hearing at this time. Call the regular meeting to order. I've already established a quorum. The next item on the agenda is to review the minutes of the January 13th, 2015 special meeting.
I just have, a couple, actually, I believe the housekeeping, I think Barbara did an excellent job on her first meeting, and that was a very long meeting, she did an excellent job. But, on the voting, I think we need to reflect everyone's vote, on the motions, on the voting yea and voting nay. It was, one thing, and the second thing is, and I direct this to David and Cindy, on the, motion to approve the Dollar General, should the 10 conditions be listed, although our recording secretary did say she referred to the conditions, is that legal enough, or do they need to be within the motion?
They need to be within the motion or my memo, I don't remember.
Well, she did refer to your memo.
Right, but I'm not sure if that was recorded with the minutes, to be honest with you.
It should be recorded with the minutes then, I'm just bringing that forward.
It would definitely be more comprehensive though if those conditions were set forth in the minutes.
Yeah,
Just listed in the minutes,
Yes, yeah.
yeah, you could probably just scan it in
Were they
because they
not
were all
wrote?
written, Barbara.
They were
And-
read
and-
during,
I keep
they were
calling
read
Barbara
during the
from
meeting,
the-
but I don't think it came up
Reminder.
in the.
Remember, the other one was Ann.
And this is Annie. Annie. But you got one with the red hair, yeah.
Should we hold off approving these minutes until they're amended, or you wanna just approve them with that amendment that we know we're gonna have?
We could approve them with that change, and we could include, my memo from that meeting, as part of this meeting as part of these minutes, and record them.
That works for me if it's good with Cindy.
As far as recording the votes, I mean, you haven't done that on any other application, so
Oh, yeah, I look back to several, and it's good to list everybody on how they voted.
that's,
And so that is my suggestion.
That's fine.
That's fine, okay. Then if so, I would say to approve of the minutes of January 13th, 2015, with the changes so noted.
Couple other
Oh,
little
I'm
things.
sorry.
Well, there was
name change.
a name change, not a misspelled word actually, but an inappropriately used word that we've already talked about, intrinsically, in reference to the concrete block color. The color is actually part of the unit, so intrinsically would be the right word in there. And Annie agreed. Not a big issue, just a spelling thing.
Where are you,
Jean,
Gene?
which page
It
are
would
you on?
be second page, second paragraph down. Jean Julian asked for clarification on the concrete block color, and John Motilla said that it would be, I guess the word there is intricately colored unit, but it should be intrinsically colored unit, because they actually put a dye in the concrete as opposed to a paint, and that's what our town engineer did not want, was a painted block.
Correct.
Right.
So no big deal, just a change of a word there.
Well, I just learned a new vocabulary word.
That word does exist, but it didn't really mean that, so.
And the top of page 4,
And where was that, top of page 4, the name, right, Dan Mathiasen is not.
Daniel Goddard something.
he's got it on his,
Oh, is that name, the individual's name is?
Changed to Dan Burnett
Burnett Pollock.
Pollock, yes.
Okay.
Seems small, but all important things.
Mhm.
Agreed.
So I guess my motion still stands.
I would second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I have a question. Do we have
Actually,
to
you
add on the
s-
Skyline Quarry discussion? It's not on the agenda.
Oh.
Yes. Doug, you actually were seated as an alternate, right?
No,
Okay, that needs to be changed then.
yes, it does. I
Oh,
was gonna bring that up.
you
Oh,
found something else.
That's right, because all of the regular members were present.
Correct.
Well, that just
Yeah,
says
just-
present, though.
members present.
You're right, you're right.
I didn't see it as a problem because of the way she wrote it.
Yeah.
Okay,
That should be okay,
that's
Cindy,
fine,
right?
that's fine. I'm sorry, I just.
You did that okay. You just listed him as an
I
alternate,
just,
not
You're
as
abstaining.
present.
I just realized
Yeah.
we closed the public hearing and we don't have it on the agenda unless you wanted to do it in 2 weeks.
No.
No,
No, we need to do that tonight.
so, I'd like to make a motion to add, discussion of, the Skyline Quarry, permit renewal.
Second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's take that up now. So we'll add that as agenda item number 3.
Okay.
I gotta say, you guys are so quiet up there, I don't hardly ever hear anything go off. On the other end, that's another story. The dishes jump and the, yeah.
Mr. Williams has been coming before us for quite a few years, and as long as I've been on the board, I have not heard one complaint from their operation up there. I'm really impressed.
Yep, same here. Very impressed.
Everything looks to be in order.
It does, it follows all our regulations and plan and elevations and.
I look across at your wall every time I come down Hopyard Road, and I'm waiting to see a moose in that swamp.
There, I have not seen a moose. One of my guys working for me a few years back seen one and seen
Because they
some
like to
tracks
sit in the
at one
swamp
time.
in the summertime, keep the bugs off.
You wanna do the motion, Nancy?
Oh, certainly, I would be glad to. I'd like to make the motion to approve the earth removal blasting, renewal application submitted by applicant Wayne C. Williams, for Skyline Quarry, location 110 Cochran Road, map 61, lot 80, zone AA, AAA. And the permit period will go from 2010-15 for 3 years to 2010-2018.
Second it.
You mean 210?
I mean, 210.
Yeah.
I was wondering where you were.
Here we're 5 years
2010.
behind. so-
Missed it.
I'm sorry, 210.
210-15 to 210-2018.
Is there a second?
Second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I was sitting here writing it down, and I started looking at
I
it.
was quick with the 2020s there.
I'd just like to thank the board for your time tonight. I know we all been busy with our own individual plowing and snow walkways, so thank you.
Thank you, and our apologies for postponing this.
The delay,
That
that's
was a
right.
bit out of our control.
Okay,
So-
thank
All right, the next item on the agenda is discussion of Reddington Rock Riding Club Incorporated, location 93 Handle Road, map 43, lot 19, zone AAA. And at the last meeting, I believe the club had requested time to review the latest opinion that we had
Well, we're
received from.
gonna let them digest it,
Mhm.
and I have not heard a word from anyone from the club or from the,
Okay,
we still have, there's no campers up there.
all right.
Do we still have one?
There's still, there's no activity there right now, but it's gonna need to be resolved.
Exactly, yes, yeah.
The question is, how much longer do
Right.
we let them digest it?
I know.
I mean, we even had additional time with a meeting that was canceled, so,
That's true.
we should have had an answer 2 weeks ago.
No contact at all with them, nothing. What do you suggest,
Or
Cindy?
I would have expected at least if they had needed additional time, or, at least the acknowledgement of the time that's passing, because I think they know when our meetings are.
What up? Should we do something tonight, or should we send them a letter saying you have to be at the next meeting, because we need to talk to you? What do you think is the best? Or a third alternative?
Well, I don't know if we need to talk to them.
Well, that's true. We don't necessarily have to.
How long have we been talking?
Since
May.
I was gonna say June.
Last May.
It's been May.
We do have the information in front of us.
Right,
kept it on
My personal view, and as much as I really did not want to see this come to this, because I was truly hoping that that the club could work out, a resolution with the neighbors. You know, so much has happened. We've had legal counsel look at this issue on a couple of different occasions. We've looked at our ability to reasonably regulate the club, even though they have a special use exception. And unfortunately, in fact, they came in at one time and did file for the camping permit and then withdrew. I personally, I feel that we're in a position where we have to undertake some enforcement action at this point.
I agree with you, Cindy.
You're thinking something like a cease and desist
I'm-
until the annual permit is
I'm
obtained?
thinking a cease and desist until
A
the
permit.
permit
We
is
don't have a
applied for.
This
Yes.
A permit,
Right,
has been going on about 4 months now, or more.
May.
it's actually been going on since May.
Coming up on a
Right.
year.
Right. And, you know, we tried to, I think we tried, I know we tried to give the club some additional time. We had a number of circumstances where we thought we had time on our side because, you know, the camping season ended, and Dave had been up there and confirmed that the campers are off the site for the winter. But again, hopefully spring is right around the corner. Camping season's gonna be starting again in April 15th.
We had given them, I think it was a unanimous vote too, in the summer, we gave them to September to come in for the permit. And it is February, so. I would, go with what the chairman thinks we should do.
Yeah, I would go with it also that way.
Okay.
I think it's time.
It's time.
We've spent a
I
lot of
think
time.
it's
on this already.
unfortunate because I think the issues are fairly succinct. I think, you know, there's no question from the zoning perspective that the real issue we have is the necessity for the camping permit and the boundary
And the
issue,
boundary.
which is what
The buffer.
brought the club here initially, so.
So that would be to discontinue any camping activities until a campground renewal permit.
Permit is applied for.
Making that a motion.
Well, I got a question. Is this, do you have to also put the cease and desist wording in a motion?
Well, that's what I'm saying, it would be a cease and desist order to discontinue any,
Okay,
Camping
that's what, I
activities.
didn't hear the cease and desist.
would be, to issue a cease and desist order to discontinue any camping activities until a campground renewal permit has been applied for.
Well, it's not a renewal.
It's a renewal, that's,
That's what the permit
that's
is
how
called.
we,
The legal,
Renewal permit, okay.
I'll make that a motion.
The cease and desist
do you
order,
want to include the items that we wanted, or just wait until that application's received?
I
As
think
far
we'll
as the
wait until
buffer,
the
yeah,
application,
okay.
the application is really
That's the
what-
first step. yeah.
Right, right. And, you know, unfortunately, I thought we were there at one point, or close, and that would have given us the ability to have that conversation, so, I think that's how we do it.
So I'll make that a motion.
All right, I will second it.
mhm.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Dave, we just created some work for you.
What's this on the left?
The next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action review of zoning regulations. Thank you.
We have,
Thank you, sir.
we have solar, which we've just about wrapped up, there's a couple things highlighted that I wanted to discuss.
Oh,
And then we have,
Give one for
we have a draft.
He did.
No, I'm gonna pass out something too.
We have a draft report from the consultant Donald Poland.
You'll need one for Annie. I need one too, but I didn't need one.
So I don't know which you would like to discuss first, whatever your pleasure.
That's your architectural.
That's
I
what I
have,
redid.
I have a copy.
Oh, you know what, we have enough because Roger and Jack aren't here, so we can have that.
I have one.
It's changed.
Oh, it's changed? I'll take it. Thank you.
I changed something.
If we could, Dave, what I'd like to do is actually start with the work that Dave Pullen has provided, because one of the other things I think we also needed to do is, if you could provide us with an update as to where he is, because I know we've asked him to do, undertake a number of different tasks, and, I think when we had our last meeting, he was excited to have what is, I'm sure, this product.
Yeah.
But if we could talk about this and, where he is with the general revisions and updates, I think that would be a great place to start.
I agree, it's a very big priority.
This he provided, he's still finalizing the narrative, it is a draft. And he's addressed all the sections of the regulations that would need to be amended as well. I don't think what's underlined, I don't think there's a color, I have the cool color ones, but, what's underlined, what is being amended is underlined. And what he did was to create a new zone called Highway Industrial, that is a hybrid of both the industry and highway business zones. And this, the plan that we had last time, it shows the area. What he wants us to do is to review the uses and bulk and area requirements for this new zone. He provided them along with the existing provisions, and so that they could be compared, but that's what we need to look at. And I think, when there is a lot of stuff here, and you need to read it a couple times, because I got a little misled reading through it. He really makes a solid case for this, which is great. And in reading it, I got a little confused where he started discussing how it conforms to the Plan of Conservation and Development, and he starts listing what the Plan of Conservation and Development called for, and then he went back to this, and it was a little confusing until I read it a couple times. But basically, he outlines, his findings and an introduction to it. And, right, the part that gets confusing, was a little confusing to me, was on page 4. He refers to the Stafford Plan of Conservation and Development. And then he lists section 5.6.2, zone 2, which this was taken out of that Plan of Conservation and Development. But as you're reading it, you think he's talking, he's describing the whole corridor. And this particular zone change is for the area outlined on that map, which is the end of Middle River Drive. Right. And across the street.
I think he's stated that in here.
Yeah, he does describe the area in there as well, but it just got a little misleading to me. And he goes on to say that not only does that conform with our town Plan of Conservation Development, but it conforms with the state Plan of Conservation Development as well. And I found a few typos in there, but basically it's an effort to encourage economic development within this area and allow some flexibility. He goes into on page 7. What he wants us to look at is page 9, 10, 11, and looking at, he threw some numbers out there, the ones that are underlined under the new HI zone. Things for us to consider, and I think it needs to be digested. I don't think you're gonna decide this tonight, but, special use permit required for these items that he has indicated, which are pretty much all of them. Well, there's some site plans in there, retail, personal services, restaurant, auto sales and such. That's included in there.
Parking special use.
Well, that was if you were to have just
Parking lot,
Right,
okay.
like say a rental place with a lot of cars.
A rental
for some
car,
reason.
okay.
True.
It just said parking. I
Well,
didn't
that's
see
in
the
our,
note.
that's in our regulations right now, we just added another
Yeah.
column for the
Okay.
zone. And what he was saying for us to consider is, you know, minimum lot area. He threw out 30,000 square feet, lot width, you know, coverage, and, heights and so forth. And that needs to be given some thought.
Interesting, yeah.
Mhm.
Highway industrial.
Hmm.
And then,
That's not quite an acre, right?
So he did standards
it's
of,
under
de-
an acre.
Under an acre, yeah.
he did standards of design and I did standards of design 4.64, so we could incorporate.
We can, yeah.
Okay, because he just did landscaping, I did the design of the buildings.
Well, this, what he did was just,
The
he took what
landscape.
we had already
Yeah.
under commercial development,
Landscaping.
and he added a highway industrial to that.
Yeah,
And he
okay.
suggested some, you know, front yard buffers and, you know, different buffers and
Yeah.
included,
Yeah, okay.
included the text wherever it needed to be in all the
Oh, so he,
affected areas.
he just did G, okay, I just redid B. I just did the architectural requirements,
And Nancy,
not the
what you
whole standards
drafted,
of designs.
and what you drafted is for the highway business zone only?
No, apply to all new construction, reconstruction, or addition within all commercial and industrial districts. So wouldn't that incorporate the highway, or would you have to put that in?
That would have to be added.
Yes.
Add it in?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cause
I mean,
this is a
it's
no
basically-
highway, what are we calling this? Highway
Highway industrial.
Industrial,
Industrial.
HR.
industrial. So,
HI.
commercial and industrial districts, should I have business in there too?
Now, this is for all.
This
new-
is for all zones actually, but not residential. It's all for,
Alright.
and what it's supposed to be is for that corridor.
But
you
there
know.
are residential homes within the commercial and industrial districts. I mean, they're existing non-conforming. That's-
Right.
Mhm.
So,
But they're not, this is all new, I
Yeah,
believe I
no,
said
I
new
understand.
construction, yeah. Mhm. So the only one would be highway industrial, you could add that in?
while we're on this subject, I'd like to mention a couple of things.
Oh, are we done with Don?
Well, I
No.
think this needs to be
Just read first and come
read
back,
and
okay?
Digested.
digested.
It's pretty
Um,
Well,
lengthy.
can I ask you two, Dave, before we move on, with respect to the minimum lot size and so on, I'm sure his recommendations came from,
I got this morning, so I haven't even,
Oh, okay.
you know, I
okay.
haven't been able to compare it to, say, other towns.
Right,
Are you
right.
talking about the lot areas?
Yes, yeah,
So I'd like to kind of snoop around and compare it to, you know,
right.
other places
What
to
you
get a
recommend
feel.
to us? Mhm.
And maybe take a, you know, go out and look at, this area, but, you know, some other commercial areas and get a
Mhm.
feel for, you know, what's enough or what's too much. or,
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's maybe something we should all
Yeah.
try to
Oh,
do
yeah.
Yeah.
before the next meeting, I think that would be.
Wait, you know, his, on 4.61, the requirements of sections 4.60 through 4.65, which includes the standards of design and architectural requirements, he lists all of them, local business, highway business, central business,
That's what's,
industrial and highway, so maybe I should redo that to also reflect those,
well, just,
add them all.
and exclude, you know, any residential, you know, some type of notation that it,
Well,
no.
it wouldn't be double A or A, as
Okay.
long as I list them the way he did.
right, but there are some residential, like in local business zone down through here, there are some residences, a house, say,
But
that,
that's not new construction.
well, if they reconstruct it, say it burns down,
Mhm,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
but it's still gonna be a residence, that's,
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't see where they would reconstruct it to be cement block, you know,
I'm
this
just
is-
devil's advocate, I'm throwing it
I
out there.
really, I don't see where any of these would impact a residential home that, well, you can, look that over too, you know, with the other ones, that's for sure, and add or whatever. So I'm gonna change this, I'll bring it back next meeting.
We had a Family Dollar submitted, building plans for building permit.
Mm-hmm.
And in going through the plans, it was while I was out, Dennis called me and came in and went over it with him. The architect, when that application was presented and eventually approved, the engineer presented it all with elevation views provided by their architectural consultant, or building consultant, whatever. And originally they came in with like a block wall, and we had to change it to, it was referred to on the tapes as a brick facade. And they came back with their building plans with those panels of synthetic brick. And Dennis sent their plans back to them. So, we need to be, when we're approving or considering these, we need to, we had a lot going on between those two significant applications. And that's, what they did was, they submitted the elevation view without the schedule, the revised schedule. So we had a picture that looked like brick, and an engineer telling them who wasn't the building contractor was saying it was gonna be a brick edifice, and it wasn't.
Did you find anything, cause Dennis called me when you were out, and we talked a bit about it. We had the same memory.
Well, they
but-
submitted, with the original plans, they had a schedule of
Yeah.
materials. The later plans were just the elevation view pictures with no schedule.
No schedule,
But, so then I went back to the tape,
yeah.
went to the minutes and then went to the tape, and the engineer said it a few times.
Good, cause I
So-
guess that's what Dennis didn't have, was that word.
Right.
Okay. So he did say
Yeah.
brick,
And you know, we all thought we were on the same page, and I'm
Yeah.
sure the engineer did too, cause he was surprised when he got a call from Dennis.
yeah.
And so that's
Very,
being
very,
addressed, that was caught, and I told
very
Dennis.
big difference
Yeah.
between the two.
Yeah,
Mhm.
what it is, synthetic brick about a half-inch thick versus actual brick like on the bottom of the CVS.
Stuck on
Yeah.
with drive it or something on styrofoam, yeah.
No.
I recently read that Dollar Tree did buy out Family Dollar. Are they gonna change anything?
Not that I've heard.
It was in the paper.
Yeah, it was a couple
Missed it.
week or two.
A couple weeks ago, Dollar Tree did buy them out.
Another item that's come up, and I think it's close to being resolved, is on the CVS, in a butter across the street, had a complaint about light. Now, they've been playing around somewhat with the lights are on timers, not the lighting of the parking lot, but the lighting on the building,
Mhm.
signage, lit signage.
And
They've
the
been playing
signs are
around with the
very bright.
timers. And one of the issues was a drive-through window. There's a drive-through window sign that's lit above that, but there's also the window itself. And there's fluorescent lighting, obviously, inside the building. There was a complaint about glare of lighting, so I spoke with Colvest, and.
Did you go take a look first?
I went and took a look, and.
What was your own opinion?
Well, my opinion is right now, there's some serious snow piled up that's kind of bouncing that glare right off,
Okay,
and it was a legitimate concern.
okay.
However, they were still playing with the lights, so the lights, there was no shade drawn in the drive-through window at night, so you had light coming through that window, and then the signage that was lit up was shutting off late. Now it's set to only be on when the store is open.
And there
So-
will be a curtain
right,
inside that
and-
window?
And also, I still need to follow up with it, but, I did follow up saying I was looking into it, but, you know, there's, the landscaping hasn't been done, there's gonna be some trees there as well that will screen it, those are not in yet, because they ran out of time on the weather. But,
Your suggestion is
yeah,
that we
but
get
one of
into
my-
all the
right,
details.
now, and I went through, because he requested all copies of all, you know, everything regarding the lighting. Now, we had a photometric plan of the building,
Yeah,
which reflected the wall pack units on the building and the light fixtures within the parking lot. Now, you drive by there,
Not the interior lights.
not the interior lights and not the signage lights, and not only that, is they have like a fluorescent light around the trim of the roof that downcast, lights the walls up. But when you have new snow and that much fluorescent light, you do get a glare. So that lighting around the roof line, I was never aware of or saw.
well, where do we stand?
And what do we
I'm
do?
just saying
If
that
it's-
it's.
But it's an interesting point though,
Right.
because we never can cover everything.
Right.
And if the photo, what is it called, photometric?
Photometric, I think that,
If
what
that
we could do
plan
is the
didn't include
photometric
that.
plan should include
Yeah,
what you're proposing.
well,
And if you don't know, like in this case, they didn't know if it was gonna be a Walgreens or a
That's
CVS.
right, of
Well,
course.
let's, for the heck of it, let's say 2 signs on this wall, 2 signs on that, something arbitrary to show that it isn't going over the property.
I would think, and it's not something I would think a board would normally do, but a board could say, you didn't have them in the plan, you can't have them. I mean, obviously, that's a big step to go, but,
No, I just think we need to keep that in the back of our mind when you're reviewing a photometric plan or somebody's discussing lighting, does that incorporate the building lighting?
but if we do miss something like that, and
What's your
it's not
recourse?
in the plan,
What's the recourse?
could you argue it's
Well,
not in the plan, you
Yeah,
can't
well,
have it?
what I'm gonna argue in this case is come springtime and when the snow's gone,
Yeah.
and they get their landscaping in, is possible.
You think it'll be gone, the snow, eventually?
Eventually. I'm
Oh,
optimistic.
you wanna ski,
But-
oh boy.
You
So
know,
go ahead, go ahead.
possibly adding some additional landscaping for this one particular area
Okay.
to screen it, because it is an issue that either fell through the, however you wanna look at it, fell through the cracks or was overlooked or wasn't presented, I don't know.
Well, Jean and I agree that may be an option for the outside lighting, but with respect to the glare that's coming in through the drive-through, I mean, we can't,
Yeah,
we
that's,
can't,
that was a
we
phone
can't
call,
tell
now
them,
the shade is
right.
down, you know.
Yeah.
But it's just, and obviously, they were just starting up, their guys were in there working at night, they were going crazy to get it
done.
open.
I just-
And it was a frustrating, you know, he sent me the email at 1:30 in the morning, so, you know, he was frustrated that he had a glare, which I
Yeah.
don't blame him, but
No.
I think a good part of it was a reflection off the snow,
And
because it's,
they went to the variance board for what sign?
no, they just,
The signs?
they went for the height of the pylon sign.
The one out
Pylon.
front.
Yeah.
Alright, there are many signs on the building, but I'm
Yeah,
assuming
those all
they
meet-
follow.
Yeah, they could have done more.
I think, you know, they're very bright red.
The drive up is bright, I just noticed it
It
tonight.
is.
I was surprised, because it hadn't been on
Well,
before.
I think, you know, the snow just amplifies it.
That's true. So our situation as far as the photometric lighting, if we get a plan from a business that doesn't include everything,
They should
I
be-
mean, where do we stand? Could we go to them in a situation if we had a complaint like, or even more serious one, and say, look, it's not on your photometric plan, you gotta work with me, I assume they would.
Right, and I think, you know, another aspect is, you look at the site and say, well, let's have a, you know, more screening here, or a berm, or, you know, something to block the light.
They don't have much room to,
No, in
Work
that
with.
case, they don't, but,
no.
well, they could have moved the building over and not
Right.
gone with the second building, you know?
It does mean
You
that
can't
there's a lot of,
anticipate everything.
Well, exactly, but I'm just saying, these are the two things that have
a
just come
lot we
up.
have to look at, a lot we have to look at. Who would have thought you'd get a complaint about glare?
Yep.
But, hey,
Hmm.
interesting. So in the future,
Well, I
all
mean,
the details.
There also is a street light right at the intersection, you know, St. Edward's Church has wicked bright lights right there in front, and then with the snow, and the other church has lights on, it's pretty well lit to start with, but I think part of it was some frustration on the owner's part, the butter's part, you know, the change of a new place, now it's lit up, it's been dark for so long, and the snow, so.
Well, it's interesting, the point you bring up, because if you think of all the hours we worked, the board worked with Coldest to get something that we thought was acceptable in that site, that fit in with the neighborhood. There's a lot of details to look at. And the photometric plan, you know, we look at it, but,
Yeah, well, the only reason I mention it is, so hopefully some of us keep it in the back of our minds for the next time, as a consideration or a question to ask.
well, we kind of rely on you to solve all those problems. Cindy's laughing.
How about putting that in the standards of design? For
Well, we have it
164.
right now to prevent light
Right.
from going over the property line,
But
but,
can you add that to it?
well, it's
It's
in
there,
it, it's
basically, it's there.
maybe modified to include, building mounted signage or something like that.
If there's
That could
glare,
be, that
I'll,
could be work on it.
yeah, I'll work on it.
Yeah, because it is there.
Yeah,
I mean, a glare that leaves
It
the
is
property
glare.
line, lights that go over the property line.
From what angle is the complaint coming from, across Church Street?
Corner of High Street and Church Street.
church.
Okay.
But if you look there, it's pretty well lit
Yeah.
already.
Well, the
You know,
parking
between the
lot,
churches and the park.
the parking lot for the Methodist church is lit.
Right.
Yeah.
The lights, the parking lot lights for CVS, I think are very good
Compared to,
compared to some other
absolutely.
places.
The
And
shielding
those are-
and pointing
right,
down,
they're-
et cetera.
They're full cutoff, LED lights and. I
That's
mean,
great.
On a quiet, calm night, you go by there and it's not overpowering, it's nice. The signs, yeah, you know, to light it up a little bit more, but if you go by there after they close, all the signage is supposed to be off.
The big
Well,
sign
thank you.
too goes off when they close?
I'd have to double check on the big one, but the wall mounted ones,
That's a
those are all on.
bright, that's a bright sign.
Okay.
All right, Dave, with respect to the other work that is doing, do you have an update as to?
Well, this is all he's doing right now because we don't have any money to do the other upgrades.
Okay, all right, I thought,
But what I wanted to mention is, I know we're not, Nancy brought in the architectural
mhm,
standards, and, you know, we have to come back to solar still, but, I think the high priority stuff, we're a good ways along on getting it done. I was thinking about, you know, what we need to do next, and I think we need to step back. I reread Mr. Poland's report, and comes back to the very first question of what is the vision?
right,
And we're making some changes because we're reacting, we're not being proactive, we're reacting to things. And all the way back to the beginning, or the gist of his whole report is, what's the vision gonna be? So I think we need to come back around to deciding what the vision's gonna be, or how the vision's gonna be determined, or something.
I think though that this right here, the zone changes, fixing the issues we have, most important thing we have to do, and it is unfortunate reacting to something, but
Well, and we just
it's priority one, don't you think, right now?
in putting together, budget numbers for the upcoming budget, I requested money back to pursue the rewrite of what was in his original scope,
Yeah.
because that needs to be done, and we dipped into that to do this zone change, which wasn't necessarily anticipated when the budget was done.
Dave, what about all of those listing of just the housekeeping items that they didn't need to be, the object of it wasn't changed, it's just, it was different things that we noticed.
Conflicts. And-
Yeah, did you also, can we add those too and get that all changed?
Yeah, well, I thought it would be best to do it with his revisions, if you wanna do a iteration in between, because a lot of that
In
is.
between, because we don't have the money, number one, to go forward with him. And we do have this, which we could go forward to once we review and work on it ourselves. So wouldn't you think that would be best to go through them? Do you still have the listing that we did?
I have a listing, plus I have a whiteboard that I write something on every day.
Alright, you know, it's just the housekeeping
yeah.
items, it doesn't change the regulation. We're just like adding in, you know, like the signs, temporary signs and all of that, we had to add in. You had brought up the
Temporary
fact
signs,
of, dead end and all that.
Yeah, streetlights.
Yeah, streetlights, there was some,
One thing,
misspellings.
fresh, yeah,
Public.
conflicts in the parking
Mhm,
regulations.
mhm.
See, one of the things that happened was when 2006, when a new section was done, for commercial development,
Mhm.
was kind of inserted into the middle of regulations. And within that section, that has parking, that's what Don has in the zone change thing as far as, buffers and so forth. That contradicts with the off-street parking section.
as far as distances, and some of those questions came up on the Dollar General application, and there are conflicts, and, you know.
So will you be able to fix those two in a
Yeah, we just need
so
to
we
make,
can all
we just need to make
do
them,
it together on Cindy?
just need to make them, consistent, you know?
Yeah, consistent and changing, you know, I keep that word in there, change it to public. That's driving me crazy. Okay,
Tell me something, what's the significance of the red and the yellow?
Okay, well, that's on the
let's
solar.
go to Zola, solar.
Pardon me?
Yeah, I have to get to that, we're not on that.
You're pushing this ahead,
I
Doug.
was gonna say, before we
Sorry?
leave that too, I mean, as, you know,
Well, we're back up.
Dave's point is an excellent one, that we really need to step back and, you know, really look at what our goals and our priorities are, and I think this is also a good opportunity to relook at those 2006 amendments, and, for example, and also, I know Don had mentioned or recommended to us that we take a look at which uses we want to have regulated by special use and which not, and, you know, really look at the balance of the regulation and development, and
Well,
I think
Cindy,
that all,
yeah.
it's all, you know, it's all very comprehensive, and
I thought we were supposed to work collectively with the Economic Development Commission and
We-
Conservation Commission, and to have a survey sent out to see what the people in this town
We
would
are,
like to see for a
well,
vision.
that's what we discussed, but we haven't even gotten to that
We
point
haven't
yet.
done it yet.
Well, we've
so-
been reacting by doing the zone change and
Right,
addressing
right.
solar.
But
so-
the Economic Commission hasn't done it either.
Isn't done what?
The survey, they were going to, the last I knew at our meeting in November, they were going to,
No,
Prepare a
there was
survey.
discussion of a survey at
Mhm.
this commission meeting,
right.
no, we discussed it at that one in November.
the joint
I
meeting.
did, I discussed it.
Okay, well, I
If
know
you
it was,
remember. Mm-hmm.
it was discussed here, and we were discussing the way that it would be done, if it would be done by a paper survey, by Survey Monkey, or online, or
Right,
something
right,
like
right.
that. And the big concern I have is it being overstuffed by a small minority trying to
Mhm.
drive what
But-
their vision is.
Right, but I thought that was the way we wanted to go, we wanted to see what
Right, but we
the
haven't,
people who we represent want.
yeah, well, I
We don't
haven't,
know what we want,
I
but-
can't find,
they
the only survey I can find, you said one was done by planning and zoning before.
Yeah, a long time
The only
ago.
one I could find was just for the Main Street area as
No.
far as the needs. I cannot find
Couldn't
the
find
survey
it.
questions.
That was under John Julie, so probably not. Yeah,
So,
probably not.
But, you know, I think the survey is a tool of defining or helping us
Right.
and the EDC and the Conservation Commission determine what the vision is. So,
I think
questions,
collectively, right.
questions, you know, you should come up with questions that help to point you in a direction of what that vision
Mhm.
should be. So, you know, I guess that, you know, again, back to we need to have the vision before we can do all this other stuff, so maybe we should concentrate on questions. I don't know what your thoughts are,
Well, and I agree, I mean, I think the questionnaire can help, I don't think it's going to be really the tool that determines, you know, essentially where we go. I think really the Plan of Conservation and Development has done that, and our zoning regulations are required by law to follow the Plan of
right.
Conservation and Development, and I think
Mhm.
the plan's completed, although it's never been officially adopted. But it hasn't, but we have the plan, and then we have on top of that, all of the work that Don Poland did in reviewing that and adding his recommendations, so I think we've
Mhm.
got, we've got a lot of material to work with, and to, you know,
We
to
have
move
material to
forward.
work with, but we don't have input from the townspeople. I think that's a missing link.
I do too.
It's a missing link. When we redid the regulations many years ago, 1999 was it, we had meeting after meeting, open meetings with the townspeople, and then the questionnaire, and the Plan of Conservation and Development, and that's how we came up with these regulations, and it was very eye-opening. Comments from the people then, and that newly moved to town, they loved the quaint atmosphere, they loved Main Street. The school system was outstanding. I mean, the school system means a lot
Mhm.
to people coming into town. And the way we maintain it, I think, is wonderful. we've done a great job there. Main Street, the businessmen, they've done a great job to promote Main Street. Our job is to promote the 190 corridor. I understand that, definitely, especially with the natural gas line coming in, that's going to have a lot of development.
Our job is really not to promote.
No, promote what will be used in that 190 corridor once the
Right.
natural gas line goes
Potential,
through.
hopefully the,
Mixed use, I hope, not all, one type of business, you know. A mixed use would be nice, restaurants,
Well, that's-
computer
I mean, that's-
repair,
well, that's
Yeah,
why, I mean,
that's
you know,
the
one
vision I
step
see.
of that is this zone change.
right, right.
And that's at a portion of it.
Absolutely.
And, you know, some of those uses, those industrial type uses in that zone aren't appropriate, say on the other side of the, you know, west of the railroad bridge, you
Right.
know?
Right. Mhm. So that's just my 2 cents, Cindy, you know, that's how we had approached it quite a few years ago, and, but we did not work with we did work with conservation, but not the Economic Development Commission at that point, we didn't, and I think that was a missing link.
How would you approach giving the town ideas and just what should be done?
However you tell me to do it.
Yeah. No, I'm just thinking,
You know, there's different ways to do it. There's you know, a ballot and a reminder. Not everyone reads the reminder. You
right,
could do, it's something through the town website, through a link for a
Online.
free survey service online. However,
Then not
somebody
everyone's
can vote,
online.
somebody can vote, somebody could take the survey 20 times online, and we have no way to know.
yeah.
I think there's new ways to,
Well, that costs money.
that's an issue for sure, yeah.
You know, obviously, the best way is to hear from people directly at a public hearing, but, you know, to get people to come out to a meeting unless it's something they're reacting to,
Yeah.
it's difficult.
And I'm so sick of the reacting instead of planning,
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
If you have a meeting, you're gonna get 50, 60 people, that's it.
If that
If you
many,
get that.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, if, I don't know if you, like Cindy said, you know, the plan of conservation and development, we need to follow that. We have Don Poland's recommendations, which he questioned some of the things that were in there, and I totally agree as far as, you know, we want people to be happy with what direction, whatever direction is decided. But there's also,
You're not gonna help.
you're not gonna satisfy
No,
everybody,
no.
so.
Right.
You know what, I mean, that would never happen. You're always gonna have two sides. But you would love to come into the middle, and that's where we need to go.
And I think, you know, it's obvious, you know, in all those resources, the same areas come up as far as where any type of commercial development can come in. Then I think it comes into play as far as utilizing the special use permit process, where you have more control.
Yes.
And maybe that's for some uses, but not for others, or a certain size
Yes.
building and not for others. And then you have the architectural stuff which you're working on, that we address, you know, within that quarter. And then the
They
next
will
thing,
all
you know,
have-
another consideration is an overlay district.
Mhm.
But,
And that's what I was hoping Don was working on, but he
well, we weren't able to.
can't.
you know.
Okay,
I think my recollection is the same as yours, though, when we had originally talked about the survey, I think it was going to come from planning and zoning. But I think what we do need to do is, if we're going to do the survey, is we should coordinate with economic development and
that's what I
conservation.
meant,
So
right.
maybe what we should do is take a first stab at drafting the questions, and then see if we can
Bounce them
appear
back
on
and
the,
forth.
right.
I've been invited to their meeting
Mhm.
next week, and I'm gonna be attending.
I went to their meeting, was it last week?
Yeah, last week,
Hi, Sal. And it was very informative, it was good communication and a lot of background, which, and well, Sal, you've been here a long time, Shane, I don't think you've been in town that long, back to when all of these regulations were in the 70s, you know, et cetera, and all.
I was a little young in
I gave him quite a history lesson on the old hotel that was on the hill, you know, all that stuff, the first resort town, but anyway, We had a good talk, and we talked about the survey
Mhm.
at the EDC, and they agreed.
Mhm.
All right.
And we talked about the different vehicles with which to do it.
You want, someone actually, am I allowed to talk?
Yes.
Okay. Someone actually came up with a good idea about reaching out to, like UConn, their political science department, and check and see if they could help us with it.
Put a survey together.
Do you have a contact person?
You know, Diane,
No, we were talking and I said, what if we had like,
an intern or something?
yeah, like some sort of group that does urban planning, I think they have that at UConn.
Does
Actually-
CROG have anything?
Correct, I'm sure
Oh,
they
excellent.
could probably put us in touch with somebody.
Yeah.
Great,
That
great.
way it's not, you know.
And we could
know
all
it's
work
all
Capital
together.
regional government.
Right, then if you guys write or they write it, then it's not like, oh, it's one-sided or anything.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and if we get the Conservation Commission
Yeah, I
on board
think-
with it too, and.
They're important, very important too, the three commissions, yeah. What about the selectmen now?
We just need their approval to pay for any cost.
Right.
I'm serious, I mean, you know.
Well, if we
you-
get them excited about it, maybe we'll
Well-
get money, you know?
Well, could we all split it with our budgets or whatever? Maybe all of it?
Well, I don't know, there may be ways to do it at no cost.
Oh,
I mean, that could be a project for a student, you know.
But Lori and I were just
Oh,
saying
a
that,
master's program,
rather
yeah.
than have it online or anything, is there some way that the town could assign, like Diane Billiak gets a survey, and I pick it up at the town hall and I fill it out, and then it goes in some, so that I can't, if I did it online, I could do 5 of them, but
Right,
if
that's
it-
why I
is
say
there
if we,
some way to do that?
if I
Like
get in touch
number or-
with CROG and see if they can point me into a direction so I can at least speak to somebody about it. I mean, I'm sure other towns have done it and find out how they did it and, you know, any problems they might have had to avoid. Cause it's happened and I know many towns have done it.
Right,
And like, East Windsor is a good example I referred to before, is they did a survey and they had probably at least a dozen workshop meetings that, they weren't public hearings, they were informational meetings, they were workshop meetings. They would meet twice a month like this commission, but one of the meetings was a workshop meeting, the other one was all of business, unless there was a pressing application. You know, one of those meetings was workshop.
it's a good idea too.
I do think there are some online surveys too that can be
There's secure
set up,
ones, yeah.
so they can be set up so a person can only,
Yeah, there's
I
online.
mean, you never know who's on the other
Yeah,
side of
there's
it.
online balloting and
Computer,
I use them on a.
Rough estimate based on the amount of residences, businesses, et cetera.
Right.
Yeah,
But
You're
there's,
probably looking
yeah,
at about-
it's based on,
Probably
there's a
looking at
fee.
around $12,000.
No, it's cheaper than that, it's
No.
based on the number of respondents you expect, cause I had to do it for association of them. And it's like 0 to 400 respondents was one fee, and then say
Mhm.
400 to 1,000 was
Well,
another fee.
even Doug said it could be someone who is looking to get a master's degree and would do that
They
in
get
order to
like a-
get
they get
credit
a-
for her
like
master's,
same
you
number
know,
to put in.
his or her.
Yeah.
That's a thought too.
I think I might need your names for the minutes.
Oh, Sal Titus.
Sal Titus.
Yeah, TITUS.
but yeah, they could, instead of contact
City
CROG
planning.
and
So
I'm
see
sure
what
they have.
resources they have. that
I
would
think
be-
that's a good idea. I would just feel more comfortable if we had EDC,
Mhm.
us,
And that's, you know, we're getting
conservation,
these-
and some input from the town.
Yeah, and we're getting, you know, again, we had to react to, obviously, they're not putting solar panels up this second, but I'll tell you, as soon as the snow melts, there's a pile of building permits waiting for installation, including out here in the parking lot, so,
Oh, you were smart to push this, absolutely.
so, yeah, we had to
Before,
react to
yeah.
that, and now we're back to defining our vision, and I think
Mhm.
defining the vision is what the goal of that survey really needs to be.
So what's the next
Sounds
step now for the next meeting?
We need to digest Don's
Mhm.
draft,
Yeah,
rip
your
it apart.
draft.
We haven't talked about the solar yet. Right,
No.
the solar, the red items are items I wasn't sure if you wanted to include, because, in our comments, the photovoltaic was taken off.
Photovoltaic, yeah,
Yeah, whatever, however.
yeah.
If that should be removed, and the yellow highlighted are changes, some of the changes that I made that I weren't sure. You know, the first page,
Yeah,
it's kind of redundant. One of the things as far as the height.
Yeah.
It was suggested at 15 feet, and then I was thinking, well, you know, we have a maximum height for accessory structures already in the regulations, do you wanna, which is that or 15 or higher. You wanna keep it kinda consistent with that. Then we had the thing about, project vertically more than 8 feet. I left that in, we decided to leave that in. Dennis questioned why. One thing I added was the maximum area of signage is 1 square foot. I just grabbed a number, you know,
Okay.
it shouldn't be an and then no signage pertaining to advertising.
Yeah.
It's described up above to have the installer's identification, warning
Sure.
signs, owner identification. You know, we don't need billboards going up on systems, you know what I mean, Acme
Right.
Solar.
Yep,
Um,
good idea.
and then down the bottom, 560.2,
Yeah,
we wanna
yeah.
have a special use permit required for any system greater than 100 kilowatt.
And AC, yeah, that's
AC,
important because
yes.
that's CLP lingo, yeah.
Yep.
Good, good.
I think it's all set to get rid of the yellow highlighting, I think all that'll stay in. The site plan review, I thought part of that sounded redundant. But maybe it's not bad to have it redundant, calling for a special use permit for that. That's 560.2.3.
Yeah, I'm just looking in my old copy here and trying to. Yeah, you have a point. Hmm. Hmm.
Or are you saying it's redundant because those requirements are
They're
already
already
there,
mentioned,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All of the required documents are specific to this use,
I mean, we could leave them in, it doesn't hurt being redundant, I just,
doesn't.
as long as it's consistent and
Yeah.
redundant. Or not inconsistent.
and then,
Well,
So,
on the last
last
page,
page.
the setbacks,
yeah,
I think we came to the conclusion that it would be the height of the structure would be the setback, the minimum setback.
Exactly,
So
right.
it couldn't fall onto an abutting property.
extreme situation.
Right.
You're not gonna delete that, are you? You got
Well-
delete in red?
Well, that's what I'm saying, should we delete that, because we have 20 feet, 50 feet, 25, do we need that? That's for large scale though. Do you want those buffers, or is large scale gonna be able to go up to within the height of the system? You know, there's a system on, Old Munson Road that people are kind of complaining about.
I've been hearing about it, I have to take a ride on. People are upset,
Is it residential?
yeah.
And it's within the side yard setback, front yard
Yeah.
setback.
Setbacks are important, and especially with large scale. You know, if I know we keep going round and around, but I would run this by the Energy Committee one last time.
Yeah, this week, it was also suggested that we run this past the attorney, just to make sure, because of the,
Yeah.
what's the term, the issue we're having with Ashford,
Yeah.
to make sure that that's either
Yeah, good point, yeah.
not, what's that term, what's that,
What's the issue with Ashford?
how much power is being generated
Well,
by,
the substation
Yeah.
capabilities,
what's
yeah.
that, what's, not SEAC, Prius, well, not Prius,
I'm not sure which one.
Pura,
Pure.
Oh, Pura, yeah,
Prius,
the
Pura.
new
Which
public
attorney would
utility.
review it? Our town attorney reviews it?
No,
No.
Shipman Goodman, that worked with the energy committees.
Shipman and Goodman. Do we have money for that?
That would come out of someone to finalize that, it's not in our,
Yeah.
actually, we do have money left in our budget. We
Yeah.
don't have enough to do the rewrite.
But we
So-
wouldn't,
Yeah, for
Cover
a review
legals,
of this,
right,
I
yeah.
think there's,
okay.
I think that's a good
I think
idea.
it's a very good idea.
Go to Paul or whatever,
So
yeah.
we go
He
back
show.
to page one in that photo of Valwak, that you're gonna take that right out?
that's gonna come out.
Okay, cross that out.
Good.
Well,
Where do we leave?
the key was that we didn't want thermal in there. Whether you need to leave photovoltaic, I think you can leave it. But what you didn't
What
want
is
from the
photovoltaic?
original was thermal.
That, it's, yeah, it's.
Enfield had both listed and that made no sense. So you can leave photovoltaic,
Okay.
photovoltaic
I don't know
in
what
there.
that means, so.
What is it?
Okay, that's just means, a panel that makes electricity from the sun.
Doesn't heat
Okay.
water.
How's that for a lousy definition, Shane?
It's
Close
very
enough?
easy
Yeah.
definition.
Close enough.
I can understand.
But is that any more restrictive or expansive than characterizing it as a solar collection system?
No, so
It-
therefore
it's-
it could be considered redundant.
Yeah,
I mean, solar collection system is enough. The reason before it was in with a comma was it said
Thermal
photovoltaic
was after.
or thermal. So we could take that out, I agree. I don't
I
see
think
an
we
issue
should
there.
take it out.
Take out photovoltaic.
Yeah, that could be removed.
Okay.
Down below it there, the red about, we talk about business zones.
Mhm.
Now, in Stafford, we have central business, local business,
Highway business.
well, highway business, what I'm getting at is the business zones within the former borough are still business zones.
Yeah.
And, putting up something that's within the setbacks, it may just seem inappropriate. And you talk about architectural character, if you're driving through and you have charming houses and then 2 pole-mounted solar arrays.
Well, yeah, no, I was just thinking by the racetrack, that's industrial, but full of houses,
Part of it.
part of it. So you could put, somebody wanted a ground mount array, so what you're saying is, shall be placed so that no individual component extends into any setback. What do you think, Dave?
I kind of thought that we should leave it to,
Business and industrial districts, period?
I would say just a smaller business district, central business, local business, highway business and industrial, I don't think it's a big problem that they are closer. I think you get into these smaller business areas,
Okay,
it's more of a concern. So it'd be, I think it's
so
central business,
HB and LB, you would,
CB and LB.
CB and LB, okay.
No individual may extend within the front yard setback, so it would be, probably add in there about HB and industrial zone and the HI zone, that they could be, the setback would be the height of the equipment.
So how are we saying this?
Setback will be the height of the equipment on HB and HI.
On highway business, industrial, and our new HI zone.
Setback will be the height of the,
Yeah, that works.
system, you said.
So that's in this this B, 560,
Mm.
1.3 setback B.
Yep.
So the B will say, in central business and local business zones, ground or pole mounted small scale, is that what it's gonna be?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, got it, Andy.
That works.
And then I would add a sentence.
And local
Yeah.
business, districts, ground or,
Okay.
yeah,
And then I would add a sentence after that was highlighted, that's saying in highway business, industrial, and highway industrial, the setback would be, the height of the array system.
of the
Yeah.
system.
Same language I have elsewhere.
The system, yeah.
Good.
Now you get to your maximum height there,
I'd say take out word 15 feet. and
take
word-
that out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree with that.
yeah.
All the yellow's gonna stay. And we took out site plan review.
Um,
Back 1 second to appearance in the signage.
Where,
You were talking of, that second page, you're talking of like a permanent sign mounted on it.
Well, it's gonna have a tag saying the manufacturer and any warnings. I'm saying, look.
You're not referring to the installer's sign in the yard.
No, I'm
The
talking
temporary
about mounted on the
signs.
array, because usually they have to put a sign up for deliveries or whatever else.
Right,
and-
right.
And, they're gonna do it for advertising while they're doing it. That's a temporary sign,
Yeah,
that's
that's
fine.
totally different.
What I'm saying
Okay.
is, I don't wanna see Acme Solar
nailed to the post that holds up an array.
So when you say no signage shall pertain to advertising, you don't mean that temporary 2-week sign that they
Right,
stick in the
right.
yard? Okay.
If I could say no signage mounted on the array shall pertain to.
Yeah, I think we're fine.
Okay.
It's fine what you did.
No signage period, because they could, they get funny, they can do crazy stuff.
Could start the Jean Julian purple solar eaters and all their systems are purple. That's how you know it's a Julian system.
Oh, no.
So you're not going to delete the setbacks, that's all stays, right?
And I think what you did with zoning permit and building permit is simple and straightforward.
Mhm.
A lot less complicated than Enfield had it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's gonna, do you want to delete that, or you want me to leave that for the setback?
What, say that again?
The
Where are you?
setbacks.
Under setbacks,
560,
560, 2.6.
You know, I have mixed emotions about that. As you've said before, there's such a thing as having too much, but there's such a thing as trying to cover everything too.
Well, remember, this is for large scale, and that's also gonna be a special use permit.
Yeah, and those are the ones that are really gonna be a headache for us, I think, is the large scale ones. So, I don't know, what does the board think? Leave it or delete it?
Well, what is the benefit of having the setbacks written out like this to protect?
Well, if there's an issue on a particular site, they could ask for a waiver from that.
Mhm.
Otherwise, they have to comply with it.
They'd have to go to the zoning board of appeals, in other words.
Mhm.
Well, it's a special use permit, is what you're saying, so we can do
Yeah, I
it.
mean, that's why I say, you also have the extra latitude of a special use permit.
Permit.
So, it's nice to have it, you could almost put it as recommended ahead of this, and, however you wanna do it.
Well, this does give a contractor something pretty solid to go by if they look at this. I don't know.
I don't know, I think the setbacks for large scale are important. I think we're gonna be working to enforce setbacks.
It could always be deleted in the future if it's.
Let's leave it in. Cause this is gonna go to CROG and a public hearing, right?
Yeah, so, well, it's gonna go to attorney
The
first.
attorney.
and then-
Attorney too.
Attorney, then
Oh,
CROG, and the public hearing.
okay.
No, we're not gonna delete it.
No,
As determined by the commission, yeah, that's important, I think, vegetation, et cetera. The decommissioning part, I mean, I think we had talked about it.
I took out a whole bunch of that.
Yeah, I see. That's always such a headache, because you run into, someone's bankrupt or just run away and disappear and there's no money. What do you do? You know, it's great to write the rules, but,
Yeah, the most you can do is put a lien on the property.
yeah, lien,
I mean, short of a,
and if it's sold, then you get the town gets.
well, the other option is a bond. You know, and I don't know if we had talked about that before. If someone's putting a large scale, it's a commercial operation, I don't know, do we wanna require a bond?
I don't know what the bookkeeping headache would be for.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, we do it, traditionally, we've done it on roads and developments,
Well, those
And
are
we've
gonna
got
end,
stuck-
those are gonna end at some point.
but we keep getting stuck, and right, they are gonna end. In a lot shorter period of time than something like this.
I mean, you could be holding onto a bond that won't even cost the removal of
How
one
about-
pole.
How about a little note with a question for Paul? Because Paul might have a good idea, the lawyer, Paul Michaud. He's been wonderful for the Energy Committee, and he really helped us a lot in his knowledge of the field. It's probably nothing you can do, but it'd be nice to ask him.
So the next steps, I make these changes, and I would send it still in draft form to the attorney,
Sounds good to me.
and then whatever they come back with for comments or whatever, and then we'll kick it to Krog and then put it on the agenda.
Mhm.
And if the snow's gone in July, they start building, we'll be ready.
Well, if they turn those panels down, you know, and melt the snow.
That would be nice.
We need some across from CVS.
I hope that works.
And some cities, I think Boston had one of those, heaters where they were melting.
Dumping it down the drain.
Yeah.
A huge volume.
They
of-
actually just
Yeah.
bought two, and
Forgot how many tons
Who did?
today.
Boston
Boston
bought
did?
2
Yeah.
units today, yeah.
Wow.
They also have
Well,
some coming
there's
from
still stuff in
out
that
west.
water though. when it goes.
Well, they was talking dumping it in the harbor, but there was some issues.
A lot of chemicals in there.
Well,
There's a lot of chemicals in the harbor.
Dirt, you know.
there's tea there too, right? From hundreds of years
Wouldn't
ago.
want to drink it.
All right,
All right.
Thank you, Dave, for everything
Now,
you've
on
done.
these architectural, requirements that you can look over and we'll talk, next time. I researched Avon, Wellington, Ellington, and Summers, and pulled from them. Avon was very interesting, and I was telling the Economic Development Commission this, and, they have an overlay of the Avon Center, they
Mhm.
call it overlay, and the restrictions are amazing, but that's where you go to McDonald's and it looks like an old home, and, you know, it's really beautiful, but that wouldn't work in Stafford, let's put it that way, it was a little too restrictive, but, as far as the facades of the buildings, the roof lines, the loading areas and sign colors, remember we were upset about colors of their signs? So I put that in because every one of them
Well, I
had
like
sign
Don's idea
colors.
about the sign, getting them out consistent.
yeah.
I love that.
Well, could you add that into this, under
Yeah.
signs,
We'll pull his language out too and
Yeah.
consider that also.
I
and
like
that was sign location, did you say, what did you just say?
Well, it's his recommendation about, the standardized sign, where if you format your sign in a town approved template or whatever, you're allowed a larger signage area. If you don't follow that, it's a smaller area.
So you wanna
So
put
there's
that in?
There's a benefit to making all the signs consistent.
You can look up his wording. We all thought it was a great
It
idea.
was, yeah.
And I remember him saying that, well, I do too, but no town's
No
ever
one else
adopted it.
adopted it,
You'll be the
right, yeah.
first.
But
But
there.
it was a good
I'm sorry.
idea.
Yeah, the one thing I put about the sign colors, I didn't put colors. What I said was the color of the signs attached to the outside of the buildings as the commission board may require. So I left it wide open to the board members, based on the design. Maybe a red sign would look beautiful on some other building that comes before us, or maybe white or blue, whatever. And this was throughout all the other regulations, it was at the commission's discretion on the color of the signs. I think that's based on probably what the color of the buildings were gonna be and et cetera, and the neighborhood that it's in. So it kinda left it open to, and I kinda like that thought, that was good, because you don't wanna restrict them to all neutral colors when at some point you may want a red sign or,
Mhm.
you know. So that was my thought on that. Okay,
Great, thank you, that's it.
you're welcome. I still have all of these discussion points, just to keep
Yes,
holding on
I do
to them.
too, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And motion to adjourn?
You
I'm
got
gonna
it.
be Roger.
Any seconds, did you second?
Pardon me?
Yeah, did you second?
Oh, you made a motion? I'll
I
second it.
did, yes, I
Any
did.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Great job, David, Cindy,